Y estamos en directo. Hola a todos, ¿cómo estáis? Espero que todo muy bien. Una vez más, bienvenidos a nuestra live session en Cambly, Cambly Talks. Todavía no he encontrado un nombre muy bueno para esto. Si tenéis alguna idea podéis poner al lado aquí en los comentarios. Yo soy Tiago, encantado de estar otra vez aquí haciendo esto me encanta, es siempre algo increíble, siempre hay cosas muy interesantes de qué hablar. Y antes de empezar esta clase os quiero decir una cosa que siempre os digo, pero en este mes principalmente estamos con algo que es genial, ¿vale? O sea que estamos con un descuento de hasta un 50% aquí en enlaces aquí abajo, ¿vale? Entonces es todo el mes de noviembre, pero en especial ahora estamos con este descuento increíble aquí, haciendo clic en este enlace aquí abajo, ¿vale? O sea, 50% de descuento para empezar a estudiar inglés. Ya he visto que hay gente aquí que estoy emocionada por aprender aún más sobre, hola Esmeralda, ¿qué tal? Espero que disfrute mucho de esta sesión de hoy. Y bueno, cualquier duda que tenéis, poner aquí al lado los comentarios, siempre os diga algo, siempre espero los comentarios muy buenos como siempre habéis nos dejado aquí, ¿vale? Y antes de todo también os quiero decir que hoy es algo que vamos a hablar de los idioms, ¿vale? Espero que todos ya sabéis lo que son los idioms, poner aquí al lado si sabéis o no, y será algo muy interesante. Entonces vamos a hablar de los más utilizados, cómo se usan, cómo se habla y bueno, vamos a por ello y creo que os gustará. Cualquier duda, ya sabéis, aquí al lado, dejarle like y vamos con esto, ¿vale? So let's switch to English. Let's go and start this class with. So one more time, welcome here, Gui. How are you?
How are you, Tiago? I'm doing great, my friend. Thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be here.
That's cool. That's good. Well, I think everybody already know both of us, but as we always do, and it's like a tradition here, I would like to say introduce yourself for the ones who are new. I know there's a lot of people who are just arriving from like we're seeing these discounts, the Black Friday discounts, so there are not a lot of new people. So I'd like to introduce yourself a little bit and talk a little bit about you.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Gui Moraes. I am Brazilian American. I'm a tutor here on Cambly, and I also do a lot of these live sessions with you. I do some on the Brazilian channel as well. I have been tutoring on Cambly for over a year. I love just having conversations about all kinds of different topics. I'm an artist, so talking about arts and culture and sports is always something that I love doing. Some of my favorite topics. And yeah, I'm ready to talk about some idioms today, teach you guys some new things. And if any of you want to go ahead and subscribe and chat with me, try the trial lessons, and it would be great to have a conversation and meet you guys.
That's true. And just to make even clear, like here in the description, we just put the link for the Gui's description, the link for his profile on Cambly. So if you want to have a class with him, just make sure to click on the link below, and then you go directly to his profile, and then schedule a class and use those 3 minutes for start your class. Okay, so yeah, as you were saying, we were going to talk about the idioms. So I have a list here, and we were discussing a little bit before, but I have a list of very interesting idioms here. I would love to. I will start putting some here, as we did before in the last session. I will start to write some down, and then you give me your idea and the ones that you think it's nice or the story behind. I don't know. We will see. And the first one I will put it here, so it will be world, the best of both worlds.
All right, the best of both worlds.
Yes.
So this is a very popular idiom, and usually this happens when there is a situation that you have two different options or two different outcomes, and I guess you get to enjoy both of them, right? Whatever solution you came up with or whatever situation you have going on in your life, is providing you the opportunity to enjoy both circumstances. You don't have to sacrifice one or the other, right? So you have best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many examples of situations that we could use this, but let's say you get a great job, right? So this is a very good situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it is also a job doing something that to you it's very enjoyable. You love doing it. It's very comfortable for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it's one situation that really plays to both of these advantages. So you would say, oh man, this is the best of both worlds, right? You have something that is very good for you financially and for your career, and it's also something that you really enjoy doing, and it occupies your time. So you're like, man, this job, it's best of both worlds. There's also like different circumstances where maybe you're going to combine two things you love in one single activity, and you can say, oh, it's best of both worlds. Like maybe you're going to travel to a place that has a lot of culture and you enjoy that, but it also has like, some other interesting things to do, great food, or, something that also plays to your advantage, and you can say it's best of both worlds. Even like eating ice cream, if you have two different flavors that you love, you can say, oh, this ice cream flavor, it's best of both worlds. It has the chocolate and it has the sour, and I love that. So there are many situations where we can use this idiom. It's very popular.
That's interesting. This, especially this one, that's the ice cream. It's definitely. I start to have some feelings, and I think I will get some ice cream before this. It's definitely something. And let's say, let me try it. I can apply that. For example, learning English on Cambly is the best of both worlds, because I can talk with native students and I'm in my house. That works? It's something like that?
Yeah, I mean, if these are two ideal situations for you, then it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I will go to the next one, and I think it's a very interesting one as well. It's the one that I heard a lot, and I think it's super interesting. And is this one right over here?
Ooh, speak of the devil.
What are your ideas and thoughts about this one?
What is that? Can you repeat your question?
How can you apply that into like in the daily? I know that we normally use that a lot as like when we are talking with a friend for I don't know. I would like to get your idea into perspective about how to apply this into the daily situations.
Right. So don't let this mislead you. Although you're saying speak of the devil, it's nothing negative, or it doesn't have to be. Okay, This is just the expression. However, it came up and was made popular. But this means that usually you're having a conversation, like you were mentioning, and you're talking about someone specifically, and then that person shows up, right? You say, oh, speak of the devil, right? So you're just talking, let's say that you and I were talking about our friend John, and we're gossiping, or we're saying something about him. It could be positive, it could be negative. We're just talking about it in general. And then next thing you know, John gives me a call, and I look, and it's John calling me, and we're just talking about him. So it's like, oh, speak of the devil, So that means that, oh, speaking of John, and here he is calling me. So that's usually how we'd use that expression, and it's very popular as well.
But it can be, it's just when it's a surprise, or when we are expecting that we can be applied. How is the correct way of doing that?
It's usually a surprise. It has a bigger impact when it's a surprise.
Okay.
Sometimes maybe you are expecting it, but like maybe the other person doesn't know that you're expecting that call. And it could be a call. Someone could just show up, right? Or maybe you're speaking about somebody, and then he appears on the news for some reason, and you're like, "Oh, speak of the devil." So he doesn't have to call you. He could just like show up. It could be different circumstances, but it's usually when you're talking about a specific person, and however that happens, that person appears, or contacts you, and you were just speaking about them. So you would say, speak of the devil.
Okay, good.
It doesn't have to be the devil. That's all I'm trying to say. It could be a great friend.
Okay. So yeah, it can be. Don't necessarily have to be something bad. Okay, guys. So you can use that for your friend. Don't worry.
Exactly.
So let's continue here with the list, because I think we have a few super interesting. It's so I love idioms, so I'm kind of excited about talking about them. So let's go to the next one, and it's this one over here.
Okay, stealing someone's thunder. Yeah, that means you're taking the spotlight from somebody, right? Or you're taking credit for something someone else did. So you're kind of stealing the credit from them. You're taking away their moment to shine, right? So you're stealing someone's thunder. So someone's thunder would be something like their accomplishment, right? The credit for something good they did. And you're kind of stealing that somehow. Sometimes, usually in a sneaky way, right? Like maybe you did all the work for this Cambly live talk, but then, I try to make it seem like I did all the work, so I'm taking all the credit, I'm stealing your thunder. Or sometimes you have a great accomplishment, and here it is the time for people to celebrate your accomplishment, right? And somehow I try to take the focus away from you, so I'm trying to steal your thunder. I'm trying to steal your moment to shine.
Okay.
Yeah, this is also a pretty popular one. And like you said about idioms, overall, for people who are watching us and maybe you're like, what are these guys talking about? Or you weren't sure what the lesson would be about because you're not very familiar with idioms or even what that means. Idioms, they are these popular expressions, right? And a lot of times they're metaphors, it's an analogy. We use a play on words to describe something different than what it means literally. And we have them in all languages. And it's great because sometimes you may have a very high level of English, but you're not familiar with these idioms. And what happens is if you're watching a movie, a TV show, or you travel to America or to UK, and you hear these expressions and these idioms, you're going to rely on your proper English to translate everything literally, and none of it will make sense because they're expressions. They're usually meaning something very different, or just, even if it's a little different, it's enough to throw you off. So it's a very good practice for us, especially who have a good level of English, and we are trying to learn more about the culture, more about the specific language that the natives use, and you're watching a TV show and you're hearing them make all these jokes and use these expressions. It will really help you understand the joke, understand the American humor, because a lot of humor uses these idioms, these figurative speech. So it's a very interesting lesson today, and I'm pretty excited about this.
Definitely. It's something that it's the one thing, as you were saying, that's and got my attention, because especially in humor, if you were watching a stand-up comedy or I mean whatever kind of comedy, especially in comedy, I think because you use a lot of idioms, and it's complicated sometimes to start learning English. I heard that because one of our tutors here on Cambly she just said that, and she was saying about learning English with watching movies and TV shows and all those stuff. And she said that sometimes the comedy is not the best one if you were in the basic or intermediate level of English. Sometimes it's more if you were an advanced level, because they use a lot of idioms, and sometimes you don't get it and you start to feel a little confused. So that was something interesting that she said. I never realized that too much, but it's definitely something. And you just said that it's in humor you use a lot of idioms, so it's definitely something worth know because we need to understand a little bit more.
For sure. And also with comedy, have sense of humor. So sometimes even, let's say it's not an idiom, let's say it's straightforward English. Still, there might be a lot of irony behind it, you know. The sense of humor tends to change a little bit between different cultures. So comedy is not always done the same way. Sometimes in a culture, comedy could be something very straightforward. Sometimes it could be more ironic. So people really say one thing, meaning the opposite. So like your the other tutor said, and I think she was pretty successful with this, is that not only you're trying to learn a language, but you're also trying to understand the humor and the setting and the intention behind what the people are saying. You're trying to understand what they are saying literally, and you're trying to understand if they really mean it, or if they're being ironic, or if they're mocking somebody, right? So it is a little confusing. Things like idioms and understanding the humor really helps.
Definitely. And I would like to go back to the first one that we did here, the best of both worlds, because I just saw a comment here that it describes so well this best of both worlds, and I would like to know your opinion on that, because she's Chris. So hi, Chris. And she put it like, best of both worlds would be when your boyfriend or girlfriend has a nice relation with your parents.
Yeah, I mean that's helpful for sure.
I think it's definitely that. So Chris, it's definitely helps a lot. So it's the best of both worlds if your parents like to have a good relation with your boyfriend, definitely. And I saw here as well there's a lot of people asking, and guys, thank you so much for the comments. I will answer a few of more, but I would just give you this last one that I already wrote here, and it's something. This idiom, I think, it's one that it's used probably in our daily lives, probably. So I would like to know your opinion on this one.
Once in a blue moon. Okay. What do you think that means? Let's see, you give it a shot.
If I can give it a shot, I think this is I heard that a lot when I was in California. A lot of people were saying like once in a blue moon. It's something. For example, here in Spain, it's not common to have like tornadoes and tornado. I'm not sure, hurricanes. It's like that, and so if it happens, it will be like once in a blue moon. It happens a hurricane here. It could be something like that. It's something that it's occurs, but not necessarily like always. It's not frequent. It's like that. I was right.
Exactly. Something that is not frequent, and it's actually very rare. Something that almost never happens, and you could use that to your freedom, right? So it could be something which literally never happens, or it happens once, almost never, right? So like you're saying, if you have a hurricane in the middle of Spain, maybe it happens once every 50 years, let's say, right? Because if it never happens, it never happens. So it's not once in a blue moon. Then it just never happens. So to be once in a blue moon, it has to happen sometimes, right? But it's very rare, okay? And you could use that like to a fuller extent, like something like that, like an event that happens once every 10 years, let's say, okay? Or you could use that more loosely, which is something that is not frequent, but it's maybe once a year, or maybe it's like I say, once in a blue moon, I will go to the gym, right? So I go more than once every 10 years. It doesn't have, there's not a specific time. Maybe I go once every couple of months, right? So every once in a blue moon, I will watch a horror movie. You know, so it's not like my favorite. I don't do it all the time, but once in a blue moon, right? You could say once in a blue moon, I see Tiago. So maybe we don't see each other that frequently, but once in a blue moon, I'll go get some coffee or something and we'll bump into each other, right? So there's not a specific frequency, but it's something that doesn't happen that often.
Okay.
Like the blue moon, I'm not sure. That would be interesting for another live talk, like to find out how these things became. Like who invented that? That would be very interesting, like a etymology kind of research into the idioms. So why a blue moon? You know, I don't even know if a blue moon exists. I know they have a red moon, which is rare. I don't know where they got the blue moon.
Yeah, definitely, it will be something definitely interesting to look for and research about it. But it's something interesting because I heard a lot of like people are saying in the streets and talking a little bit about that and these and that. In the news, sometimes they see in the news, especially some kind of news, not the more formal ones, but you can see these once in a blue moon it happens, these and that. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to know. It's a very common one. I would like that these next one. I think it's interesting as well. It's one that I heard a lot, and I think that is even more common than the once in a blue moon. A piece of cake, something that it's easy to accomplish can be that. For example, I don't know. I went to do an English test, and since I was studying on Cambly for more than a year, it was a piece of cake. So it can be used like that.
Yeah, exactly. Something that is very easy. It's a piece of cake. So that was a very good example. Yeah. That test was a piece of cake. It's something that you will do very easily, you know, without much effort. Something. Yeah, I don't know how else to put it. That's pretty much it. Very simple, and it's very common. It's very common. You know, and you use it a lot also in like as a response. You know, like, hey, you sure you're going to be able to do that? And you say, hey, it's a piece of cake. You know, like, let me handle it. You know, don't worry about it. It's a piece of cake.
Interesting. That's nice. Yeah, that's a super common one. I think everybody already saw that on movies and television series and all this stuff. And so Netflix, you can definitely heard a lot of these expressions.
Yeah, very simple and straightforward and very common.
This next one, it's the one that I personally never heard about it, but as you were saying that it's a common one. But I would like to know a little bit more about this one.
Yeah, and usually you use this with the who. So who let the cat out of the bag? And it's basically like who revealed a secret or who let. Yeah, I guess it's a secret or something that not everyone knew about, you know, and someone revealed it either intentionally or by mistake, you know. So it's kind of like, okay, who brought this up, right? Who made this something known? Who made this something public? So you could say, who let the cat out of the bag? And this is a good one. A lot of idioms really make you imagine this happening. This is one of them, you know, like piece of cake. I think of a piece of cake, literally. And then who let the cat out of the bag? I can see a cat jumping out of someone's purse or something. I don't know. But that's what it means. It's basically like who let this secret out? You know, who let this be known?
Yeah, this one is interesting, but I never heard it. That's like, as you're saying, I can definitely think about or imagine the cat just jumping out or somewhere. But it's
you can use it as a question, like who let the cat out of the bag, or after you revealed the secret or you made something known that people didn't know. You could say, well, now the cat is out of the bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the cat is out of the bag. That means like now the secret is in the open, right? Now everyone knows.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Here's some of the. I've seen some guys. Thank you for comments and putting like neutral gen. Speak of the devil in Spanish is hablando del rey de Roma. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I can say that. And Juan, it's a piece of cake. Is in Spanish like es pan comido. Bueno, sí, es como algo súper fácil de lograr. Ha sido, bueno, he ido al gimnasio y, bueno, ha sido a piece of cake for me. Ha sido el pan comido. Bueno, ahora ya no me recuerdo de nada, pero es algo que es fácil de lograr. Ha sido muy fácil. El test ha sido fácil. He ido a una prueba de inglés y ha sido súper fácil. It's like that. As Chris Alvarino, Chris, piece of cake, highly easy. Yeah, it's super easy to accomplish. It's something that it's easy to do. It's easy to definitely that. But let's. I will continue with the list that I have here because I think we have a few more, and I'll put this one to fill under the weather. To fill under the weather. So this one I heard, but I'm not so familiar with this one. What is that even? What's the real meaning of that?
So someone feels under the weather when they actually don't feel so well. So you might be feeling very tired, and under the weather is you don't feel so well, and usually because you're feeling like some symptoms of a cold, so like maybe you have a cold, you're like sniffly, and you're just feeling tired, and you say that you feel under the weather, right? And that's pretty much what it means. It feels that you're not well disposed. You don't feel so good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I think especially in those times of coronavirus and all those stuff, it's an idiom that people are using more often probably. So it's I'm feel under the weather. I'm feeling under the weather. Maybe people were with coronavirus and stuff. They are feeling under the weather. So it could be that.
Yeah, I imagine like someone walking around with a cloud of rain over their head, just like keeping them cold the whole time. That's how I imagine it. But yeah, it just means that, you don't feel so good. Maybe you have some signs and symptoms of a cold and you just want to rest. You're not feeling well disposed to go out or to go to work or to do whatever, So you're telling someone like, hey, you're coming to work today? And you say, today I think I'm going to stay at home because, I'm feeling under the weather, right? That means that you're just not feeling well. You just want to rest.
Okay, I got it. So let's go to the next one. I think it's an interesting one as well. To cut corners.
To cut corners, it's basically to try to find easy ways and shortcuts, and usually not in a positive way. Okay. It's not like you found a very bright, simple solution for a problem. It usually means that you are trying to cut time or reduce the amount of work you have to do at the cost of something being well done, at the cost of some execution or the overall result, right? So you're cutting corners. Usually we think of shortcuts, and it's usually in a less ideal way for the outcome. So if you had to study really hard on Cambly for a test, and then instead of spending the time and studying, you're just trying to like write down like a cheat sheet or something, you're trying to find like easy shortcuts, but that's not how we really learn, right? To learn something, you have to put in effort, you have to study, you have to dedicate yourself. So to cut corners is usually you're trying to save time and energy in ways that are not as productive and that don't really benefit you, right? And that means to cut corners.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to go here for the feeling under the weather that I'm seeing, receiving some comments here, and neutral. He just asked if like the under the weather. I think it's the one that you were talking about, neutral. I think it's this one, and the idiom now that I think it's the feeling under the weather. It's like it's filled that something bad is going to happen. Can be that, or it's just
No,
when
not
you were
really.
feeling bad.
Yeah, it just means that you are physically feeling ill. Like you're not feeling good physically, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has to usually means that you feel like you have a flu or that you have a cold and you're feeling the symptoms of that. So maybe you have a little sore throat. Maybe you just have a cold in general, you know, like you're not breathing well, you have a sinuses or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it means to feel under the weather. But good question, though.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. So okay, let's go to the next one. I think this one it's the one sometimes people will like be, oh, what is that? But it's actually something good. Break a leg.
This one didn't make sense to me at first. The first time I heard it, I was like, what do they mean break a leg? Sounds awful. I think this is the first one in our list that's a little more specific. Because we have idiom that could be specific because of some genre of like, I don't know, a specific type of job, right? So it's like jargon. It's like something used in this type of work, right? And it could be maybe regional. So this is an idiom that's very popular in Florida, right? Or maybe this one is very popular in Chicago. So we have different types of idioms for these different reasons. And break a leg is something that is very popular in theater between actors and actresses. So this is the first one that's a little more specific. All the other ones that we've been talking about, from my experience at least, I haven't traveled all of the United States, but they are very popular in like throughout all of the United States. They're very popular. You know? It's not something specific to a profession. It's not something specific to a state. These are very general idioms. Break a leg is something that is a little more specific, like I said, in theater. And it usually means like do super well, like good luck, like really go out there and nail it, you know, like do your best. That's what it means. And I think I know how that one came up.
That would be interesting to know.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So when people are in theater, after a performance is finished, you know, you will clap, you know, to show that you really enjoyed it. And people used to also stomp on the stands. You know, they would stomp their feet really hard while they were clapping to make even more noise, right? To be even louder, to show appreciation. They're like, oh, this was amazing. And so to break a leg, it's kind of like perform so well that people are going to cheer for you so much that they will. That's what it means.
Wow, that's definitely something that I hope that we can break our legs on this session.
Yeah. I only learned this because I went to school for fine arts, and the fine arts school had also theater division, right? So we had the fine arts, dance, theater, and music. And so I started attending many plays, and I became friends with a lot of the students and the actors in the school. And that's when I started learning more about these like idioms and expressions and words that are used in, you know, this field. And before the first play that I went to, you know, I saw like my friends before they went stage, I see everyone walking up to them like, all right, break a leg, break a leg, break a leg. And I heard it like 100 times the same night. I was like, break a leg. So I could kind of tell that he heard and not perform. I could tell that it was something like different. I wasn't sure what it meant. And then later I asked my friend, and she explained it to me. She's like, oh, that's what it means. And I think that's how it came about. So I could be wrong. I think that's history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's it's something that when you hear it for the first time, it's definitely something that you just like, what? It's what? It's that really what you want that happens? So it's definitely interesting.
And I only heard it in theater. I'm not sure that it could be used outside of that setting. So let's say that you're going to play a soccer game. I'm not sure I would tell you to break a leg, because then it could come off completely different, right? Like you're going to play a soccer game where injuries happen and there is a chance you might break your leg, and I'm telling you to break your leg.
Yeah.
Like that could be completely wrong. So I only heard it in theater.
Okay.
Yeah, it does exist, and in that universe, it's very popular. Just be careful when you use it, because it might not be understood for every type of performance.
Okay, so yeah, be careful, guys. Don't use that a lot. Just if you have any friends who are actors or actresses, so you can use it, but be careful with these.
Exactly.
And so let's go to the next one that I think is interesting as well. I mean, I think all of those are interesting. I kept saying that because every time I read that out loud, I kept thinking about it and trying to remember some when I heard that or a story behind this one. But I mean, this is it's one that I heard it in a movie, I think, but I was not completely sure at the time. And I want you to explain a little bit more about these one.
To hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I think some of these, they evoke an image in our head that are more closely related with what they really mean, right? So break a leg was like the complete opposite example, right? You're saying great, like have a great performance, but you're telling someone to break their leg. It's because it's not their leg. You're really saying break someone else's leg who is rooting so much for you that they're going to hurt themselves. But it evokes a completely different image. But to hit the nail on the head exactly, it kind of creates this image in our head that is similar to what it means, like to really hit the nail, to really be on point, to really talk about exactly what the situation is, to really describe something perfectly, to really guess the exact answer. That is to hit the nail on the head, right? So if you're like asking me about something and I tell you exactly what it was, like I get a perfect answer, you're like, oh man, you hit the nail on the head, like right on target. Like you described it perfectly.
Okay, so let's see if we can think about any example here that I could use these one. I could use that. I'm not sure if I can, but I can use that. Oh, I saw I was doing a test and I just hit the nail on the head on that answer. It could be. I can use it like that.
You could. Okay.
But it's not that common, right?
Well, I'm not going to say it's not that common. I think there are like situations where idioms become more popular. So it's like a popular answer for a specific situation. You know what I mean? Like you could use them because there are popular expressions, but there are some specific moments that kind of evoke you to say that. So like, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Speak of the devil, right? You're not really going to be describing a story to your friend and saying, oh, I was speaking of the devil, then this happened. That's not how it would really make much sense. So when do you use speak of the devil? When that specific situation happens, right? There's like a moment that calls for that expression. It asks for that idiom. You're talking about someone that exactly someone sent you a message, or they just walk into the room and you're like, speak of the devil. It's like the perfect situation. So it still makes sense in some different situations, but it's not like the most commonly used situation for that idiom. So your example was not bad, and we can create a lot of different examples. So it wasn't bad because, you know, you hit the nail on the head. So like you were really accurate about the solution for a problem. And that is what the idiom means, right? Some more general situations and popular situations are if I'm not really feeling that well and you can see that, and you say, oh man, what's the problem? Is it a problem with your girlfriend? And let's say I just had a fight with my girlfriend. You were exactly right, you know? And I can say, Tiago, you hit the nail on the head. You're very right, you know? Like super accurate, you know? That's a situation where you use it a lot, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, usually like there's a question or there's something that is not clear, and then you guess it, and you guess it correctly, and you're like, oh man, you hit the nail on the head. You know, so there are different situations, and this is with experience, of course. We're explaining what these idioms mean, but when to use it, when are you going to hear it, that takes a lot of just time and experience, and sometimes you use one and it's not the exact opportunity and people are maybe going to have a laugh, but then sometimes you use it and it's perfect and it's like, oh, that was great, you know, and it just takes time, but it's good to know what they mean. So if you're watching a movie or if you go, you know, traveling and you hear them, maybe you won't be using them initially as much, but you know what they mean, so that's great. And then slowly you get a feeling for when to use them, you know.
That's true.
But it was not a bad example that you used. It just seemed like a kind of like using it in an explanation, which you could use. But sometimes a lot of these idioms, they're used more as like a response or like there's an opportunity for it. You know?
Yeah. So anyway, as you were saying, I think it's interesting to just for people realize a little bit about it. And don't be afraid to use those idioms if you're learning or if you have any American friends. I mean, just use it and see how it will be the reaction for people who actually understand a little bit about it. And I think it will be interesting for them to realize it and say it. Sometimes they will just laugh because it's not necessarily the right moment to say it, but it's definitely something that you will learn and you keep improving for the next time. So don't be afraid to use it. Use it. You're learning. I mean, I'm learning. You are learning. So we will keep. We have to just not be afraid to make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, so it's not. I mean, don't be afraid of those, and I'm making mistakes in front of all of you guys, so it's definitely worse. But it's something that don't be afraid to just talk with people. I think it's the best way to learn. It's the best way to improve your English. And when you say that in front of the people, you're using like to cut the corners with one of your friends, and they're not necessarily the right moment to say it. They will laugh, but they will like explain to you, and then you will learn. So it will be interesting for you. So use it a lot and see what happens.
Yeah, and you just hit the nail on the head with that answer. That was very good.
That's good. Thank you for that.
You're going to have fun and you're going to learn. So it's best of both worlds. You know, and I think I couldn't agree with you more. You know, and I think that's in general for our English, for idioms, for everything that you're learning on Cambly. You're learning by yourself. You're studying very hard. Do not be afraid to make mistakes because that is really how you show your growth. That's how you improve.
Yeah.
And if you say an idiom to a native, first of all, they're going to be very surprised that you know that idiom, and they're going to be pretty happy about it. You're like, oh, where did you learn that? You know? And if you got it at the right timing, it's going to be like amazing. And if it's not quite at the right time, you're still going to be very surprised that you know it. And they're going to help you adjust when to use it, or they will give you a tip, or, you know, and that's how we get even better, right? So, yeah, that was very well put from you, and that's in general, in English, you know, whether you're learning a sentence, you're learning how to use this verbal tense that you're not really comfortable with, do not be afraid to try and to make mistakes, because that's how we improve. So that was very good.
That's true. And actually, maybe I would just put it the next one here, but maybe we can link those two. Let's see if you got me or if I'm right about it.
Okay.
And so a blessing in disguise, it's disguise. It's like that I can say that it's disguise.
Disguise.
So okay, disguise. So a blessing in disguise. It's something that when something bad happens, but eventually results in something good. The result of it. So maybe, as we're saying, that sometimes you're going to use an idiom, it's not going to be the right moment, but it will be funny, and then you will learn. I can say that like it could be a blessing in disguise. It's or no, I'm I'm just making something.
Yeah, it's completely right. It's something that seemed like a negative experience or a negative outcome or negative situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, later on, you find out that it was something positive, like you explained earlier. So
Mm-hmm.
it's great. And it could be a situation, like let's say sometimes, you didn't get the visa to travel. You're like, oh man, I wanted to travel so much. And that can only seem as something negative, right? You really
Mm-hmm.
wanted to travel, you're saving up money, you're really excited about your trip, then something happens and you can't go. That's
Mm-hmm.
a bummer. You feel really sad about it. But then because you didn't travel, let's say you met the love of your life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, wow. So then you can maybe 10 years later, when you're explaining to, your friends or your kids how you met your wife or whatever, you're like, yeah, I wasn't even supposed to be there. I was supposed to be traveling.
Uh-huh.
But then I didn't get the visa. So that was a blessing in disguise. Many situations that you can use this. This is a little more open to when you want to use it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's not one of those that it's like, oh, it's like a quick, smart answer. So a lot of these, like I said earlier, some of these have a timing.
Mm-hmm.
Not it's a requirement, but usually there's a timing to use them that they sound better, they work better. This is one that you can use it in explanation. Like, oh man, remember I lost that job? That was really a blessing in disguise. Because
Mm-hmm.
maybe you lost a job. That's horrible. You lost your job, you lost your income. You're feeling sad, you're unmotivated.
Mm-hmm.
But because you lost your job, maybe you went back to school and you
Mm-hmm.
graduated and you met some cool people there
Yeah.
and you started your own business and now it's taking off and you're doing great.
Mm-hmm.
So losing that first job 10 years ago was really a blessing in disguise,
Mm-hmm.
So you could be saying that, yeah, when I was younger, I used to work with this and I was fired and it was really a blessing in disguise.
Uh-huh.
You could say that. Right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's
But
more.
it's one that we use more with explanation, so you have
Okay.
more freedom to when to use it.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now I got it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to know it. Let's say that this next one, it's nice as well. It's the one that I heard a lot, and it probably it's an idiom that you use it a lot as well. So call it a day. So call it a day. It will be we're going to after this live session we'll finish that and we'll say okay, let's call it a day because it's ended. It will be almost 11 o'clock in the night here in Spain, so we'll be like, okay, now I call it a day. It's like that when you finish with something, right?
Yep. Exactly. And I love hearing that.
you
usually means that work is done. Time to relax, time to rest, time to go eat, time to sleep. Like whatever it is that you're working on, let's call it a day. There is no rule to the time of the day you use it. That just means, if it's very early, okay, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but you've been working really hard at this problem for hours or something. And then you're just feeling exhausted. You guys can't work anymore, and it's being hard to find a solution, or it's not developing. You need some time off or a break for the day, and it's a break for that entire day, right? It's not let's take a break. Take a break means you're back. Let's call it a day. It's today we're done. Maybe you go back tomorrow, maybe in 2 days, but let's call it a day. just means like, all right, let's finish working on this for today. Maybe because you're tired or it's getting late or things aren't working as you plan, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically saying, hey, for today, let's stop. You know?
Okay. Okay. So
we also use it sometimes like when you are able to finish something in a positive way and you say, hey, call it a day. That means like, wow, you finally were able to finish that project.
Mm-hmm.
You signed it off. It's complete. So now you finish that job and now you can just enjoy the rest of your day and you can say, hey, call it a day.
It's like
that as well.
It's like a relief, right? It's like, oh, just call it a day because. Okay.
So it's a relief either way. It's either a relief because you finished something and great, or it's a relief because this is like not working and it's not working and we're getting tired or it's really late. So hey, let's call it a day. So either way, it's basically a relief and let's stop working on this. But it could be because you're tired and it's late, or it could be because you just accomplished and you finished that task. So you could say both.
Okay, got it.
We can use it also like when you're giving an instruction to do something, and whatever that task is will be the last task. Okay? So for example, let's say that this live session was the last thing that I had to do today for work. Okay? But before we started the live talk, if we were having a conversation, I could say, hey, Tiago, so let's do this live talk and call it a day. Right? I'm telling you the last thing we have to do, and then we'll be done. Okay? So you can use that way as well. Like, hey, just finish this last assignment and call it a day. Right? You can use it that way. And it's very common to use it that way. In all these ways that I explained, it's a very popular.
Yeah, I heard that a lot. It's like something that it's in movies, everywhere you hear that. So it's easy to all of you guys to know a little bit about this one. This one is interesting as well. So let someone off the hook, and it's not the one that I'm more used to in terms of what necessarily it is the expression, but I didn't heard that too much. But I would like to know what are your thoughts about this one.
Yeah, so I'm going to type down here someone in quotes, because this someone, you're usually going to replace that with the person you're speaking about, right? So, hey, let Tiago off the hook. And that basically means like leave him alone, let him get away with this or give him a break, maybe because you did something wrong or because everyone is focused too much on you and all the attention is on you for whatever reason. And basically I'm saying, hey guys, leave Tiago alone, don't bother him about this right now, And sometimes it's basically saying like, let someone off from punishment or from some apprehension about something. Like, let's say you were late for work today and I say, hey, Tiago, you're late today, but I'm going to let you off the hook. So that means like, I know you were late today and you were supposed to, be punished somehow, maybe lose some hours or maybe, be sent home or get a warning or something, but I'm going to let you off the hook. It means like, I will let you get away with it. Okay. That's what it means to let someone off the hook, is to let them get away with it.
Okay, yeah. And you were right. I was late to work today.
It happens.
So sorry, boss. I will compensate those hours.
Yeah, you will make it up. And sometimes you can use that completing with something. For example, let's say that it's in your contract that if you're late for work, you get a fee. Okay? But you were late for work today, and instead of giving you that fee, I would just give you a warning. So I could say, hey, Tiago, I'm going to let you off the hook with just a warning. So I'm telling you that I'm going to let you off the hook, so I'm going to let you get away, right? But with something else. So I'm not letting you off the hook for free, right? It's not like I'm just forgetting about it and it's done. It's like, I'm going to let you off the hook with a warning. So I'm letting you know that next time you won't be off the hook, right? Next time you will get the fee. So you can use these combinations.
Okay, interesting. That's nice. Yeah. So, sorry, boss. So let's go to the next one. This one is interesting. So, to bite the bullet. It's when we it could be when you when you want to do something. I mean, when you have to do something bad or you don't like it, but you have to do it. It's like that, or I'm just misunderstanding that. But I think it's when you have to do or decide to do something, and you I'm not sure how to explain that, but I would like to hear from you.
Yeah, this one is one of those quick ones that you use, and there isn't much else going on with it. It's very simple, and exactly like you were saying, it's when you finally decide that you're going to do something or finish something that you were putting off. You're procrastinating, and you finally bite the bullet, and you just decide to do it. Okay, I'll give in, or you agree with someone. So you bite the bullet. It's when you take that deciding moment of decision to do something you didn't want, something that's unpleasant, something that really is putting you off. So you bite the bullet. That means that you just give in and you go along with it and you do it or whatever. It's not. It's common. It's very well known, but you won't hear it as much as like some of these other ones.
Okay. Good. Got it. So this next one here, what are your thoughts about this one? Giving the code. Giving someone the code.
The cold shoulder. It's missing a word there.
Oh yeah, I forgot to put it there. So the cold shoulder. So sorry guys, giving the cold shoulder.
And I don't know why the cold shoulder. It's great. And I would love to get a specialist in idioms and figuring out what is the origin for all of these. Because I'm sure some of these, I don't know, like feeling under the weather. I guess the way I envision it probably has to do with how it came up. You're feeling under the weather because when you're under poor weather for a long time, usually you tend to get a cold, right? If you're in the snow for a long time or if you're in the rain, you tend to get sick. So I'm feeling under the weather. I can kind of link those ideas together. But a lot of these other ones, they're just like, great. I have no idea how it came about.
Yeah. Like
giving someone the cold shoulder, like why not the hot shoulder or the left or the right shoulder? I don't know how that came about. But that means that usually you're ignoring someone. You're avoiding somebody. You're giving them the cold shoulder. So, you've been trying to reach me or you're talking to me and I'm pretending that I'm not listening. I am giving you the cold shoulder.
That's interesting. Yeah, as well. Like the cold, as you're saying, like the cold shoulder. I'm not sure about this one, but it's definitely interesting. And I would like to know, like, this would be our last idiom for today, and I think it's a one that's super interesting as well. Let's hear what are your thoughts about the last straw. I think it's when you want to piss off someone and they're already kind of mad with you, and then like the last straw is when they just get so irritated or something, right? It's like that. I would like to hear from you.
Yeah, it's like the final thing that pushes someone over the edge. Over the edge, I guess, could also be somehow an idiom. But it's the last thing that, like you say, ticks someone off. It's the last reason for someone to blow up, to get mad, to, get stressed out. Or the last reason for an accident or for something negative to happen. So that was the last straw for the war to happen, or something like. Or it's the last reason, the last event, the last motive for someone either being mad or for something, I guess, usually stressful happening. So like your example was good. Like, man, this guy has been annoying me for a long time, but yesterday, like, he scratched my car, and that was the last straw. It's like that was the final reason for me to, like, be super mad and like do something about it. I don't know. I'm going crazy with the story, but it's that last reason to get you really upset to the point where you're going to do something about it.
But I could use it. For example, I'm really enjoying this live session, and they said it would be they will finish. So it was the last straw, and I got very angry because I wanted to continue. I can use it that, or it's just when you have a reason, as you were saying, like the last reason for you to get mad.
That doesn't really work, and here's why. It's because although that could be seen as something negative for you, it wasn't something personal towards you, number one. Number two, the last straw is usually the last reason within a number of reasons. So it's not just one incident, It's not like someone treated you perfectly forever, and then they did one thing, and you say, hey, that was the last straw. Because to be the last, that means there had to be other reasons, right? So it would be different if they cut your salary, and they cut your hours, and they give you more work, and they start complaining about you, and then finally they canceled Cambly talks, and you're like, oh, that was the last straw. That would work. I would never see that happening because
I hope so.
Working for Cambly, everything just works so well, and but that could be an example. So the last straw is like the last reason in a sequence of reasons, right? It's not one event that happened.
Okay.
So that would be the last straw, or the straw that broke the camel's back. You could use that one too.
Okay. Now I got it. Yeah, it was just that I was thinking ways of using that, but definitely not.
Yeah, but that's good. Keep thinking of ways to use it. But like I said, a lot of these idioms, for everyone who are watching us, try to find examples, either in movies or TV shows or online, of situations when they are used. And you will see a common theme for a lot of these. A lot of these, you can use it whenever. You're explaining a situation of two great things that are happening to you simultaneously, and you're like, man, it's the best of both worlds. I get to travel and I get paid because you have a tourism job. It's the best of both worlds, or you got that really good job that you wanted, and you have young kids at home, so you're working from home, so you can really spend time with your family. And you're like, oh man, my job is the best of both worlds. I work with what I love, and I get to spend a lot of time with my family. So maybe that's the both worlds that you want. So that's subjective, right? It's the best of both worlds to you. So you don't really need like a key moment to use it. You create that situation to use it. Okay. Some other ones like we've used before, is like, hey, speak of the devil. There's kind of like a moment to use it. That situation happens, right?
Yeah.
You could use it in a way that you're explaining. Let's say that you're explaining a time that you were talking about someone, and then that someone showed up, and you say, oh, speak of the devil. So you could use it in an explanation, but it just sounds a little forced, It works way better when that situation really happens and you use it in the moment. So, there are different situations to use some of these different idioms, like cut corners. Cut corners, you're also going to use it when you're trying to usually tell someone to stop doing it. Like, hey, Gago, man, I see that, like, you're trying this and that and that. I think you should stop cutting corners and just really put your head down and study,
Yeah.
Or you should just really focus and stop cutting corners. Or you could say, oh, so-and-so was, not getting the results he wanted because he was cutting corners. So you're using it in like a sentence, kind of explaining something or giving a suggestion. So it's way different than saying like something that's in the moment, you know, which is like funny and witty. So there are different times and different purposes for a lot of these different idioms. And I think a good suggestion is to find the ones that you thought were most interesting and look for common situations when people use them. And that way you're more familiar with them, you're more familiar with the situations and the impact, and if it's funny or if it's something mean. Do I use this for humor, or do I use this to like really tell someone that I'm annoyed, right? So these are all circumstances that the more research and the more used to them you are, the better you will be at understanding and using them. And don't be afraid to use them anyways, like you said before.
Yeah.
So
definitely, yeah. I couldn't agree more with you. It's just something that I think people are liked so much, because I just saw here a comment that from Juan. I think today's topic should have continued next week. So we definitely could talk a little. I mean, we have thousands of idioms that we can keep talking here and keep talking, because there are thousands of idioms and ways, depending of which state you are living in. If you're in the United States, or I mean, if we're talking about idioms in the UK, it will probably exist a lot of different idioms in the UK that we are not familiar with. And
interesting for maybe yeah, we could definitely do another one. Like you said, there are like hundreds or thousands of these, so I'd love to do more.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it with a British tutor, let me know, because I want to watch it. Because I will be very curious to hear like how different they are and the different language and words that they use. I think that would be very interesting. So
yeah, definitely.
Send me the link. And I will be leaving comments.
Yeah, you please do that, and we need to. I will try my best to answer those. And yeah, I think it's super interesting. We are going to keep talking about all those topics. And Juan, if you have any idea, just put the comments below here, or leave us a comment here. But just if you have any feedback or any idea about any topic that you wanted to hear about, or if a specific thing that you want to learn, or it can apply for each and every one of you guys, just let us know, and then we will schedule that to make it happen. Okay, so if you have any idea, like, or topic, grammar thing, or just a crazy topic that you want us to talk about, we can do that. And just leave in the comments, and we do our best to answer all of those. And guys, we're going to finish this session for today. We're going to call it a day. And it was a pleasure to be here with you guys, and we're definitely going to see you next week. Thank you very much, Gui, for your time. One more time here with us.
Thank you, Tiago. Thank you, everyone at home, for watching, sending your questions, and making your comments. I love teaching about idioms because they're a lot of fun, and it's a nice way to give some color to language. Sometimes it's very grammatical and it's very black and white, learning, words and verbs and syntax. And then we learn figurative speech and expressions, and it's just something fun, and it really like paints pictures in our heads. So please use the code and come do your free lesson with me, and we can talk more about idioms, and we can have a great time explaining some of these. Maybe you can bring some to me from your own country, so I can learn them and see how different they are. And I will also try to answer some questions in the comments after the live session. So leave your comments, leave your questions. And thank you very much, Tiago. Thank you, Cambly, once again for the opportunity. And hopefully we'll be able to do some more of these soon.
Definitely. We're going to definitely do more. And so thank you very much, all of you. Gracias a todos los que estáis aquí. Nos vemos la semana que viene, ¿vale? Y no os olvidéis, si tenéis cualquier idea, cualquier duda, cualquier cosa que queréis saber, poner aquí en los comentarios y vamos a hacer lo posible, ¿vale? O sea que hasta luego, muchísimas gracias, thank you very much, see you guys, bye bye.
Bye.